Hi and welcome to Man of the Match. This is the segment where we reward the best and fairest players of the round. So it's a place where we look at the players that uphold the rugby values that we hold dearest, and also the players that show extraordinary acts of sportsmanship. It's also where we look at players that influence the games the most. Players won't be rewarded if they get a yellow card or a red card, so those things will be taken into consideration as well. So welcome to Man of the Match. So the first game of the week started at Racecourse Ground. It was CH and FC taking on Army. 1 point goes to Lee Kegel. He's the number 12 for CH. Now he marshals his troops really well. He talks to the players inside and outside him. He identifies where the threats are coming. If he received a little bit more ball in attack, maybe we might see something more of him, but I thought he did a great job, so he receives 1 point. Player that gets 2 points for me is Avishka Lee. He played halfback for CH. Now he cleared the ball so quickly, and also he's got a great kicking game as well, but he marshalled the troops too. But it's his box kicking and the way he clears the ball that really gets the votes for me. 3 points for me was Ashan Bandara, the fly half for CH. Now he had a great game. He just directed his troops around the park. He moved them where they needed to be at certain times in the game, and he controlled the game, especially in the second half. The second game of the round came from Havelock's Park on Friday night. Here, Heavies took on Air Force in a good tight contest for a while, but then Heavies kicked away, and the player that gets 1 point for me is Radisha Senaratne. Now this is a player that doesn't know when to stop. You'd never know that he was playing against a Havelock's defence that weren't letting points in. That defence was really strong, but he just kept on pushing and pushing. He was rewarded with 1 try. His defensive contributions were immense as well, but he gets 1 point for me. The player that gets 2 points is Nishan Pereira. He played 13 for Heavies. He scored 2 tries, but every time he had the ball, he'd either make a break or do something a little bit special. His ball distribution is impeccable, but what he does for me is he challenges the line, straightens the line really well, so he received 2 points. The player that received 3 points for me was Shehan Dias. Now he was immense in the line-outs, so his set-piece work at line-out time set Havelocks up so well that they controlled the whole match. He was strong in the air, he made contributions in defence and attack, his tackling was strong, so that's why he received 3 points. The third game was at Police Park between Candy and Police Sports Club. In this game we saw Candy come down, and Talinda Wejasinghe received 1 point for me. Within 15 minutes he'd scored 3 tries. His kicking was excellent in this game. Everything he seemed to do was he had the Midas touch. Everything he was touching was turning to gold. So he receives 1 point from me. Richard Dharamapala receives 2 points. He's also a player that everything he touched turned to gold. But what he did as well is I saw him at 1 point, he went to go for a try and he saw a player on the inside. He probably could have gone over the line here, but he decided to use the player on the inside. And they're rugby values that I enjoy, where you promote your players, you promote the teammates, and you're doing what's easy. Just passing the ball into space is what we like to see. The player that receives 3 points is the captain from Candy, Guyan Ratwatte. Now, what he did is, in the first couple of minutes, he put in a defensive display that lifted his whole team up. Now, Candy were obviously the favourites for this match, but he decided that he was going to set a standard for his team that they were all going to have to follow. So in the first couple of minutes, a kick went up and he chased really hard and made the decisive play. That set the standard for his team, and his team seemed to follow. After that, he had a fantastic match. At 1 point, I saw him do a Sonny Bill Williams pass out the back. I think he did a dummy, stepped inside, defended another player, Sonny Bill Williams pass out the side, and that just made it was almost like a festival atmosphere, and that fun and excitement that he brought to the game seemed to go to the rest of his players as well. For me, also players that should get a mention is Jason Desanaka. He's starting to come into his own. He's a player that needs to play more rugby. The more he plays, the more influence he'll have. The final game of the round was at CR and FC, between CR and FC versus Navy. It's was a colossal game, and for me the first point goes to a player that came on in the second half for CR, Rehan Silva. So he came on and influenced the game in that Navy were kicking to a young Chimard Fernando at fullback. He wasn't having his best game. Rehan Silva came on and he changed the course of the game. He just changed the momentum a little bit. Every time he collected the ball, he went forward. I thought that gave the balance to CR and FC, and they kicked on in that match. So he receives 1 point. Dulanjana Wijesinga, the hooker for Navy, had an amazing game as well, and he's been playing really well this season, even only after 2 games. So he was getting back and playing as a number 8, even though he's the hooker. He's kicking out of his own 22, he's making tackles. Every time he had the ball, he was difficult to stop. He's a defensive leader. A couple of his throws weren't quite right, but he receives 2 points from me. The man of the match, and there's no way you can go past Taruna Ratwatte. Now this player is coming into his own. I thought last year he was also exceptional, but in this game against Navy, he was really the difference. Every time he touched the ball in attack, he was really dangerous. And this is a player that just seems to know when to run forward, when to hold back and pass, when to kick. His defensive reads are perfect as well. He was captain for the day and he led the team really well, so he receives 3 points from me. Players that also receive a mention are Shehan Mohammed for CR and FC. He came on and he had a huge influence in the second half. I'd imagine him and Rayan will be pushing their names forward to say, hey, maybe we should be starting next week as well. Talinda Wijesinga, the fullback for Navy as well, he had a good game. His boot was on song as well. He missed 1 kick when it was vital as well. But in the first half, he made a real difference. So that's it for this week for Man of the Match. Tell me in the comments below if you think there's someone that I missed that should be rewarded. I'm Paul Toyer. Join me next week for Man of the Match.